a letter, and I wanted to present to you the content of this correspondence.
Just live or just last one? Is it? Oh, okay. And on behalf of course of OIC منظمة التعاون الإسلامي نشكر فخامة الرئيس الصيني
On
على
behalf of
المشاعر
the OIC, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the Chinese president for what he expressed in his correspondence. Through you, we would like to communicate this correspondence to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that hosts the headquarter of the OIC and presides over the current session. Before I give the floor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Adel Jubeir, allow me to say that after the adoption of the final communique that will be circulated to all of you, so there's no need for us to read it again, the Mecca Declaration, I was supposed to read the Mecca Declaration to the participants after it was adopted, but suddenly we had a technical problem. The microphones were down. They spent around 15 to 20 minutes trying to fix the problem, and there are around 20 presidents and heads of states waiting to take the floor. I couldn't read the declaration. I will very quickly read the declaration. The Mecca Al-Mukarrama declaration to be read for the first time live in this press conference. God Almighty calls upon us to work together, to come together if we are enemies, to become brothers. We, the heads of states and members of the OIC, met at the 14th OIC Islamic Summit that was held on the 26th of Ramadan. Or the 31st of May 2019, we thank God Almighty that allowed us to meet in Mecca al-Mukarrama next to the holy site that was the cradle of the message of Islam for peace and justice. We reiterate the main principles of the eternal message that started in this holy site. We call upon greater collaboration for justice, equality, equity, solidarity, and unity. We remember the main principles for the foundation of the OIC, and I'll try to summarize to get directly to the point. We are fully aware of the challenges that result from armed conflict and others. We should work together towards improving the situation based on a number of principles. Commit to the OIC to commit the OIC to work to achieve its charter, including common Muslim work to work towards a promising future for the Muslim world. Develop the capabilities of Muslim countries on all levels to ensure their sustainable goals. Again, I'm summarizing, and I will give you the full copy for those who are interested in having a copy. We reiterate the importance of the Palestinian cause as a pivotal cause of the Muslim world work on ending Israeli occupation of Arab territory since 1967 in line with the international resolutions, and we are united with the Palestinian people in their struggle and the right to have an independent state with Jerusalem as its capital. Put an end to all shapes and forms of terrorism and extremism, whatever their causes. Condemn the attacks against the kingdom and the UAE. With the attacks on the two oil pumping stations and the ships, oil tankers in the UAE territorial waters, and we call upon the international community to shoulder its responsibilities to stabilize the region. We refuse to put any religion or nationality to terrorism, and we condemn all organisms that call for violence. We condemn all types of discrimination on the basis of belief, race, ethnicity. We call for greater dialogue and cooperation among people in order to fight discrimination and hatred. We reject all types of sectarianism and extremism. We encourage national efforts that are countering terrorism and extremism. We call for greater cooperation between Muslims. There is a great responsibility for all media, especially on social media, to ensure that we achieve our Muslim goals and to move away from any strife or sectarian conflict between Muslims. We reiterate the importance to support Muslims in non-Muslim countries that are subjected to a lot of struggles and present their cause in international platforms. The OIC feels that the changes that are happening on the international levels, which requires the development of programs adopted by the OIC so it can assume its role regionally and internationally. We would like also to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, for his generous invitation to hold the 14th session of the Islamic Summit and His Majesty's effort to serve Islam and Muslims all over the world. We ask Allah Almighty to give us success in our endeavors so that we achieve our objectives and allows us to ensure the prosperity of our ummah in the present and in the future. I will leave the full declaration of Mecca with you for those who are interested in getting a full copy of it. And I think that is available in both English and French also. Thank you very much for your attention. And I now give the floor uh, to His Excellency Adel Al Jubeir, Minister of Foreign Affairs in the Kingdom. Thank you, Your Excellency. Peace be upon you. We apologize for the late hour, but what has happened in the kingdom over the past 3 days was a historical event. The kingdom was able to host three summits, two emergency summits, the GCC and the Arab summits, and the OIC ordinary session of the Islamic Summit. So we have to thank all those who contributed locally and regionally to the success of these summits. Including the OIC, the Arab League, and the GCC. These summits came as a result of the developments in the region. The kingdom is always looking at working towards greater stability, prosperity for the Saudi people and the Muslim peoples at large. The kingdom is always looking at building bridges of communication, encouraging investments, attracting investments, empowering women and youth, creating an environment where there's the use of technology, resorting to creativity and innovation, and providing a good livelihood for people in the kingdom and the Arab world at large. The Muslim world faces many challenges, but even greater opportunities. The challenges are very well known: sectarianism, terrorism, extremism, conflicts. Lack of development, but there are great opportunities also. The Muslim world constitutes 1/3 of humanity and extends over a great geographic area, has great natural resources, has a lot of human resources, institutions. There are great opportunities that we should seize in order to elevate the living standard in our ummah. Unfortunately, there are those who undermine these opportunities and spread sectarianism, support terrorism, provide drones and ballistic missiles to militias, interfere in the internal affairs of Muslim states, do not respect international legislations and the principles adopted by the international community for decades, which is the non-interference and good neighborliness. This state is very well known. It's Iran, and the GCC summit, as well as the Arab summit, condemned clearly Iran. The Islamic summit also condemned the Iranian behavior. It condemned the terrorist attacks against tankers in the Omani Gulf and the attacks against facilities in Saudi. I think that we were able to give a clear message to all those who are behind these sabotage activities that the world, the Arab world, the GCC countries and Muslim countries reject such behavior. This is a clear message. It was also a clear message in terms of our unity in addressing the challenges that we face in the Muslim world, namely, as was said by His Excellency, the Palestinian cause. All three summits called for a solution as per international legislations and the Arab Peace Initiative in order to establish a Palestinian state according to the 1967 borders with Jerusalem as its capital. This is what we are calling for and the starting principle in the peace process. All other details are in the final communique. I do not want to take any longer. If you have any question, we'll be happy to answer them.
Your Excellency, the Minister, I have a question of two parts that are correlated, of course. Your Excellency, the Minister, these condemnations and these clear statements in accusing Iran of supporting terrorism and terrorist militias and the sabotage had put an end to diplomacy. What is the solution with Iran in the future? The second part of my question is related to the first part. Saudi Arabia has the two holy shrines, the OIC, and is always inviting everyone to be moderate. What is the future plan that Saudi will adopt in order to disseminate moderate Islam? Regarding these condemnations, none of the countries would like to be isolated by the international community or the local community. The Muslim world rejects the activities done by Iran. We reject the behavior of Iran. Enough is enough. If you want to be respected, you have to adopt policies that push people to protect you. Assassinating the diplomats, putting explosives in embassies, providing drones and explosives to other countries, backing militias that will damage the civilians and launch ballistic missiles on countries is not a behavior of a country that is looking forward to gain the respect of the neighboring countries. We condemn Iran and we refuse their activities. Now the international community has isolated Iran. Iran is the first sponsoring country for terrorism, and it is under international sanctions. The international community is trying to convey this message to Iran. If you continue in this path, we will increase the sanctions and the cost will be higher and higher. Isn't it better than for the Iranian regime to focus on improving the living standards of the Iranian people instead of spending their capacities on supporting terrorism, killing, and destruction? It is the responsibility of governments to protect their people and to focus on development in addition to focus on stability and security and peace, and not on killing, destruction, and sabotage as Iran is doing. As for the moderation, Islam is moderate. It's the religion of moderation. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as His Royal Highness the Crown Prince has said, does not need to reform Islam. No, we want to go back to the roots of Islam, which is the religion of love, tolerance, moderation, equality, justice, and love. This is the real Islam, and this is what the kingdom is doing through its educational programs, through Atidal Center, and through working with the international Islamic organizations in order to prove to the world what is the real Islam. And this is the methodology that we will adopt. But any party which claims that Islam justifies killing civilians or Islam is the religion of extremism, this is not true. We can see that Islam has linked between the West and the East. It is the Muslim civilization that has taken the Roman civilization and the Greek civilization and spread it in the West. Therefore, the Muslim civilization is a moderate civilization geographically and historically. How will it be extremist? How will it reject the other if it is the civilization that has linked the world? This is what the kingdom is looking forward to. This is the Islam that we are calling for. We have to base our communication with others on these values. We will take a question now from the journalists in Jeddah.
Yes,
Matt Bradley, the floor is yours.
Yes, Matt Bradley.
Yes, hi. To Mr. Jubair, I'm Matt Bradley from NBC News. If His Excellency will ask me to ask two questions as well, very briefly. Does the Saudi government feel as though it's getting a consistent message from the U.S. administration with regards to Iran? That's the first question. And the second question is, does the Saudi government intend to approve or back a peace plan by the Trump administration if the Palestinians have not been consulted in any of the negotiations leading up to the announcement of that peace plan? Thank you.
Yeah, can you repeat the first question? You said combat a consistent message. The voice wasn't very clear.
Yes. I'm sorry about that. Do you feel as though you're getting a consistent message from the administration in Washington with regard to Iran and its activities in the region and its potential nuclear program?
Okay, thank you. Yes, we have been getting a consistent message from the administration from day one. That's why the administration gave Europe and the JCPOA a chance to be amended in order to fix the flaws. The flaws of the nuclear agreement have to do with the sunset provision for enrichment. The second issue has to do with more tighter inspections. And the third issue is that it does not deal with Iran's support for terrorism, its export of ballistic missiles, or its interference in the affairs of other countries. And the Trump administration informed the Europeans and the members of the JCPOA that unless this is fixed, the US will not be part of this agreement, and as a consequence, they pulled out. And we supported this, as did our allies in the Gulf. The Trump administration has been consistent, as has Saudi Arabia, about the need to stop Iran from ever acquiring a nuclear weapon, one. Two, about the need to hold Iran accountable for its support for terrorism. And three, about the need to hold Iran accountable for exporting ballistic missiles in violation of UN Security Council resolutions. And number four, to ensure that Iran does not interfere in the affairs of the countries of the region. That message has been consistent since day one and has not changed. And I think the world is coming to the conclusion and the realization of the importance of pressing Iran to comply with international law and to act like a country rather than as a revolution, and to abandon the principle of exporting the revolution, which is enshrined in its constitution, to recognize the sovereignty of nations, and to live by the principles of international law that I referred to early on. With regards to the peace plan, we haven't seen a peace plan yet. We understand that they're working on it.
الفلسطيني لم نطلع على أي خطة حتى الآن، ولذا فإن موقفنا حتى الآن متسق مع خطة الجامعة العربية ومع الخطة التي أطلقت سابقا، ولذا نعتقد بأن أي قرار ينبغي أن يكون متسقا.
Therefore, we believe any resolution has to be in harmony with the resolutions of the United Nations and the 1967 borders, where you will have an independent Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital. Muhammad Abdul Rahman. In the name of God Almighty, my question is to the Secretary General. As you said that this summit has an ordinary session, but it comes in an extraordinary time, exceptional time and place in political conditions that are facing big challenges, and one night after two emergency summits. To what extent the final communique of your summit, the Islamic Summit, is in harmony with the communique of the the Arab League Summit? Why don't you have a joint committee from the General Secretariat of the OIC, from neutral or impartial countries that will be able to have this as a harmonized communique? What was your second question? The President of Senegal asked to increase the capital of the Islamic Development Bank. Was it ratified or not? Or are you still studying this request? Kindly, I would like to remind you that we are running out of time. I read out the Mecca communique, but I did not give a quick brief of the summit. Of course, we are to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is the headquarters of the OIC. It has invited the member states to this summit, and the countries responded promptly when the custodian of the two holy mosques has sent the invitations. All countries responded without any reluctance. No country did not respond to this invitation. They all responded to the invitation. Of course, this reflects the position of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and its role as a spiritual leader. No one can compete with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in its religious position and its religious leadership in the Muslim world. Of course, so we had three summits held at the same time. As Minister Adel has mentioned, we had three summits that have been held in the last 2 days in one place in Mecca al-Mukarrama. Only in 2 days we had three summits. This by itself is a great achievement, also a milestone in the success of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in its support to the OIC and being the headquarters of the OIC. OIC is the second biggest international organization after the United Nations in its number of members. So having three members in 2 days is by itself a big achievement. Behind this achievement was the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, headed by the custodian of the two holy mosques. We thank the custodian of the two holy mosques for all his support, and we thank all the contributing countries. Apologies for interrupting you. I would like to thank you for all the good words that you have said about the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia believes that this is its role that it should play and should serve the Muslim peoples. Allow me to extend my thanks to the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud, and His Royal Highness Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdul Aziz. They look at serving the Muslims as an obligation. It is our obligation, our commitment, and we are proud to meet our obligations. The custodian of the two holy mosques always said that it's a great honor to meet their obligations, and the kingdom will deploy all efforts in order to serve the two holy mosques and the Muslim Ummah. Allow me to thank you for these good words and apologies for interrupting you. Thank you, Your Excellency, the Minister. It is our duty as OIC to really reward every party or every entity that is doing good for the Muslim Ummah. Of course, supporting the Palestinian cause is one of the priorities. And of course, again, the Arab Peace Initiative is a red line. We all agree on this, and it has been reaffirmed in our summit today. Supporting legitimacy in Yemen and calling upon the UN to find a political settlement. We have supported the Sudanese decision and choice. The custodian of the two holy mosques has also supported the Chad countries, the government in Afghanistan to look into the Rohingya crisis in Myanmar, rejecting terrorism, extremism, and all the terrorist attacks against the Muslims in Sri Lanka, condemning the attacks in Dwadmi and Afif in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. You have heard about it in the Mecca Declaration, also condemning the sabotage attack against the 4 vessels in the territorial waters of the UAE. Regarding the results, in answer to your question, of course, there is kind of integration between what we have reached in the communique of the Arab Summit and our summit. We know that the members in the GCC and the Arab League are members also in the OIC. Therefore, they work on similar issues and matters. You know that more than 1/3 of the members of the OIC are members of the Arab League and also members in the GCC. Therefore, they are wearing different hats, but they share the same concerns. They wear the hat of the Arabs and the Gulf, but it is the same concern. Consequently, there is no problem whatsoever in understanding that we have some common issues or matters. It's true there are specific matters related to the Arab League or related to the GCC, but the main causes such as the Palestinian cause, which is an Arab, a Muslim, and the Gulf cause at the same time. The matters of fighting terrorism, working on development are shared among the Arab League, the GCC, and the OIC. As for the mechanism of communication, it is a well-established mechanism that the minister has talked about. We have bilateral consultation held annually with the Arab League and with the GCC. We work on putting a matrix for the matters and issues which we consult about. We might agree or disagree. We agree most of the time, 99%, and we disagree 1%. However, we found this as one of the best mechanisms that we use with the GCC countries and the Arab League, in addition to the EU and the UN. The experts from both parties meet and present at the table the political and economic issues. We try to know their positions and their stances regarding those issues. Therefore, there are some common points and common initiatives. Therefore, we are with adopting bilateral initiatives. Thank you. We do apologize from you because we ran out of time. Thank you.